Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 8 of the Destiny and Beyond Gaming podcast. I'm your host, Vigilant, and today I'm joined by my friend, the Lady Guardian. Hi, lady.
Hey, Vigilant. How are you?
Yeah, not too shabby. Little full after a complete day of eating turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes and all that good Thanksgiving food.
Well, I think that's a really good way to spend a Thursday, so I'm quite jealous because we don't have that here, so...
Yeah, you guys miss out on the great Thanksgiving feast that we get to gluttonously take in America every year.
Can you believe that we've made it to episode 8, though? I think that's quite exciting.
I can't believe that we've come so far. It seems like just yesterday we were on like episode 2. It's crazy. Not only are we on episode 8 chronologically, but I feel like we're on like episode 1000 as far as our quality goes. We've just improved the editing process and hopefully like the outlining process, so you guys are getting a way better product, in the end.
No, it's good fun. It's gone really fast.
Today, you guys might notice it's just the two of us. Proxy and Killer Greg have jobs. They have things that they have to do in the world, and both of them were unable to make it today. So just the two of us. We're hanging out talking about Destiny. So for news this week, as far as the podcast goes, we're going to be giving away a Care High emblem later on in the episode, somewhere randomly. I'm just going to throw it in, but I'm going to list off the entire code, and the first person who gets it, gets it. It's a pretty sweet emblem, and I wish you guys all the luck. Also, for the next 2 weeks, we're going to be compiling all the questions we can on our WordPress, which is dbgpodcast.wordpress.com. And if you put a question in there, over the next 2 weeks, we're going to go ahead and put you into a raffle, and we're raffling off 2 slots for raid-alongs with us. So you can go ahead and win yourself the ability to come join us on a raid.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's pretty exciting. We can do whatever raid you want, too. We have access to all of them. So you guys choose the raid, and we'll run it through with you.
Well, I think that's great. I think that's quite exciting. I'm looking forward to being a part of that, actually.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. It's super easy. Just jump on our WordPress. We have a little box for entering in a question, and it sends us an email directly. Just make sure that you include your name in there or return email so that we know who you are when you win.
We should probably also add that as we all play on PC, it's only a raid offer for PC players because we'd probably struggle with PS4 and Xbox not playing on them.
Oh yeah, that's a very good point.
Important caveat there.
So PC raid-alongs, come win yourself a slot on the raid. I think that's it for news for the week for as far as we're concerned. So we can jump into this TWAB. We have a pretty awesome TWAB this week.
It's a big TWAB this week.
It wasn't like super long, but there's a lot of good information in there. One of the bigger things this week in the TWAB, Bungie announced the pinnacle weapons for the next season.
Mm-hmm.
And these are pretty awesome. Now, there was a lot of feedback this past season on the pinnacle weapons being all tied to Crucible. People really didn't care for that as much. Like, there are some great weapons, like the Broadsword is awesome, Luna's Howl is awesome, Not Forgotten is great. But having such high-end, great weapons tied to very, very sweaty, like, PvP was something that people didn't like really care for. They want that, but they also want more of the game to be accessible for these pinnacle weapons. So Bungie heard us. They've come out with 2 awesome pinnacle weapons for PvE related content. The first being the Vanguard pinnacle weapon, Loaded Question. Now, Loaded Question is a high impact fusion rifle with arc damage. Its unique perk is Reservoir Burst. When the battery is full, your next burst deals additional damage and causes enemies to explode on death.
I think we all love a fusion rifle that makes things explode.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably why Telesto is quite as popular as it is.
Telesto might be big because, like, it's little it's like a little blow up, like, proximity mines are, like, broken, right?
Yeah.
Like, actually broken. I think they're doing way too much damage, but yeah, fusion rifles can be a lot of fun when they do unique things. And this one just sounds like it can clear an entire room of ads really fast. So that's exciting. Now, the way you're going to earn the loaded question is you're going to pick up the quest from Zavala, and you're going to have to complete the following objectives: 500 fusion rifle kills in any striker nightfall, 1,000 arc kills in any striker nightfall, 40 strikes or nightfall completions, and then you can head back to Zavala and get your loaded question. Now that'll take a little while. I don't know about you, but it takes me a while to do these strikes and nightfalls.
You see, I find that really weird because to me that looks like a really light quest. When you compare it to like the Redrix at the moment, which is just ridiculous. That is, it says these complete all the following objectives. You can earn progress towards these goals at the same time. Is that like the only step they've got? You should easily be able to get 500 fusion rifle kills and 1,000 arc kills in 40 strikes or nightfalls.
I did a nightfall yesterday night, and I had 230 kills in that nightfall.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, those two quest objectives are going to be really easy to finish.
That grind there on that 40 strikes.
Yeah, it's going to take me at least a week.
Yeah, because that's half an hour a strike, give or take, really, isn't it?
If you do the right nightfalls, I think nightfalls might be the way to go on this, just because you can get the nightfall specific weapons.
Mm-hmm.
If you do like the right nightfalls, you can complete them pretty quickly. I don't know how they're actually adding those up. Like, do you have to do a full nightfall, or can you use like the cheese maneuver in the in that one new strike with the fanatic? What is it called? I'm blanking on this one. Do you remember what the fanatic strike is called?
I can't remember.
It's not the corrupted. It's hollowed lair. If you do hollowed lair, there's like that cheese maneuver you can do at the end where you have everybody kill themselves as the chest opens, and then you get to do that fight over again, and then it gives you all the rewards. So I'm hoping they kind of patch that. Will that count as a completion? Because it's certainly counting as a completion as far as rewards go. That'll be interesting to see, because that'll take almost no time at all if that works.
Yeah, that's very true.
Moving forward, Gambit has a new pinnacle weapon in Breakneck, which is a precision auto rifle taking up the kinetic slot. Breakneck's unique perk is Onslaught. This weapon's rate of fire increases as you stack Rampage. So, if you guys remember Redrix's Broadsword, that weapon was made to take a legendary tier perk in Outlaw and mess with it in a way that kind of made it a little better and more unique. They're doing the same thing with Rampage here with the auto rifle. They're taking Rampage, which is a very strong legendary tier perk, and they're making it better. It'll be really interesting to see how this weapon plays out. It does take up the one slot where Gambit provided an exotic, but it's meant for different things. Like Malfeasance is meant for the Taken at the end and Invaders, and Breakneck is kind of made to take up every other role in there. Because, I mean, really, in Gambit, you're trying to kill as many ads as possible, right? Like, as quickly as possible.
Well, yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah, so this is for killing all the riffraff.
I must admit, I do use an auto rifle quite a lot in Gambit, so that looks like one I think I might definitely go after, to be honest. I do like a kinetic auto.
You know, I wasn't so hot on them like in Destiny 1, but in Destiny 2, like one of the weapons I used the most in year 1 was the Scathe Lock, and I absolutely loved it. And I haven't really switched back to auto rifles in year 2. I think they've been kind of underpowered, but who knows? Maybe they're going to tune auto rifles to be just a little better. Maybe this weapon having that Onslaught perk will be just a little bit better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'll mix things up a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I would love to be able to use that weapon tier again, especially like when you consider that you can like throw on Actium War Rig with the Titan. You just have like 1,000,000 bullets. That'll be a lot of fun.
Titan trolling.
How to earn Breakneck. Now, this is another easy one that has kind of a long end to it. All you need to do to get this is you're going to get 500 auto rifle kills, 100 auto rifle multi-kills, 150 challenging enemies defeated. You know, that might take a little bit of time. and 40 Gambit matches completed. And then once you complete all those objectives, you can go back to the Drifter and get your fully Masterwork Breakneck.
I'm kind of sad that they've added in these 2 new weapons for PvE and they're single-step quests. Because you can rank up with Gambit and you can rank up with Zavala as well. It just seems like some quick wins, but I've not tried to play 40 strikes back-to-back yet. I might change my mind.
I really like the way that they handle these, to be fair. With Broadsword, there were certain quest steps that you wish were kind of in the, like, that were connected. Like when you have to get a bunch of pulse rifle kills in one step, and then later on you have to get a bunch of headshots with pulse rifles, like final blows, right?
Yeah.
Those 2 steps, if they're connected, that feels a lot better than having them separated and then you have to get 350 kills.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's just that things like Luna's Howl and Redrix have rewarded those who'll put the grind in, and they're super great weapons, but you have to work for them. I'm just a little concerned that this kind of takes the shine off it. But like I said, I haven't tried to play 40 strikes or 40 Gambit matches back-to-back yet, so the grind may still be real.
Right, and I can see what you're saying. Is it fully worth it when the challenge in obtaining them isn't there? It's yet to be seen. It really depends on how good the weapon is, right? I mean, right now, one of the best weapons in the game is the iClose shotgun, and that's fully RNG based, whether you get it or not, right?
Yeah.
But can you imagine having like the iClose shotgun tied to a quest like this? I think it would feel very rewarding to get that gun.
Definitely.
After doing like something like this. So I see where you're coming from, but I also think that they're trying to find a middle ground for people. I'm interested to see how this plays out, honestly. I think people are gonna like the challenge. I think it's not gonna be too hard, but it's gonna be just hard enough.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Now, the Mountaintop is a lightweight grenade launcher in the kinetic slot. This is the Crucible pinnacle weapon for this season, and it is just as hard to get, honestly. The Mountaintop's unique perk is Micro Missile. This weapon fires in a straight line and has a massively increased projectile speed. In addition to the above benefits, the projectile instantly detonates on the environment instead of bouncing like a traditional grenade launcher, unless you have the sticky grenades selected.
Which means they'll stick to people.
Yeah, which is cool. But it sounds like you're kind of shooting like a laser almost, right? Or like a little mini rocket launcher in your kinetic slot.
That is gonna... Oh my goodness, I can already hear the salt about this weapon.
Now, for anyone who grinded for Luna's Howl or saw that quest and kind of got turned off, you had to play in competitive 100% of the time. And competitive is very fun if you like competitive. But if you're not a big competitive fan or you don't like those game modes, it can weigh on you. And it can definitely affect the ability or the desire to want to get that weapon. Regardless of how good it is. Now, for the Mountaintop, you're still going to have to grind out to Fabled in competitive. But the other steps, they've eased it. Each objective that you're going to tackle for the progress for this weapon can be done in quick play or in competitive, which is really cool. But you're going to make a lot more progress towards each objective in competitive overall. So step 1 is to reach glory rank Brave within a season. That's not too hard.
That seems manageable.
Yeah, that's not absolutely terrible. So step 2 is in the Crucible, earn grenade launcher final blows, and you need 750 total points. Now you're going to get 3 points per kill in non-competitive playlists and 10 points per kill in competitive playlists. So you can kind of see like the difference. Like it's going to be a lot more worth it for you to do it in competitive, but it's going to be just as attainable in non-competitive. You have to rapidly defeat groups of 2 or more opponents, 200 total points in non-competitive playlists. You're going to get 2 points per double play, and then 1 point additional for subsequent kills after double plays. In competitive plays, you're going to get 5 points for double plays, and then 2 points per subsequent kill after your double play. And then you're going to have to earn calculated trajectory medals, 100 total points, and then you get 1 point per medal earned in non-competitive, and 4 points per medal earned in competitive. And then for the last step, you're going to have to reach Fabled. So there still is that degree of excellency that's being required. Like Fabled is still a grind. But for a lot of those steps, you can just play in quick play throughout the season and probably complete a lot of them if you're using grenade launchers at all, you know?
I think, obviously, I'd read ahead when I was talking about it. This is the sort of grind I would really like for a PvE weapon. I feel like we've been a little bit shortchanged, and I know I'm going on about this, and I'm sorry, but it would have been really easy to do this format. I think this 3 steps is great. It's a lot better than some of the ones that are out there at the moment. It condenses it and doesn't make it look like such a grind. But I really wish they'd done this, don't you? I really wish the layout was the same, like especially for the Gambit one.
Kinda. I mean, if Gambit had a competitive mode, I could see that being like a place where you'd make a distinction. Otherwise, it's hard to kind of figure out how to split that up.
Well, no, I'm meaning with the reach whatever rank in Gambit within a season. Step 2, do your kills. Step 3, reach this. I mean, they could have implemented this with the Nightfall versus Heroic Strikes, or Nightfall versus Strikes. They could have split.
I think with the Nightfall and the Strikes, it would have been super easy to make a distinction between regular Strikes and Nightfalls and then 100k Nightfalls. Because you can easily be like, okay, you're going to gain a lot more towards it if you end up doing a 100k Nightfall.
Yeah, but it's great. I mean, I shouldn't be ungrateful. We've now got PvE pinnacle weapons, which is fantastic. I just wish we
awesome.
had the quests like the PvP guys have.
And you know what? They've had a few seasons now to kind of figure out like the PvP balancing for pinnacle weapons and like what people want. This being the first time we're seeing PvE pinnacle weapons, I'm perfectly fine if they've gone a little less than what we'd want, because maybe next time they get it correct. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I don't think this is incorrect by any means, but they're going to figure it out eventually, you know, for investment versus reward.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
I do think the guns all sound awesome. I mean,
no, they do.
I don't know if I'm going to ever strive for the mountaintop, but the other ones I'm definitely going to get like pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you. The mountaintop does sound fun though.
It sounds like a good time, but I think I'm still going to be grinding for Luna's Howl next season. So moving forward in the TWAB, the Bungie Foundation has paired with Direct Relief, and I'm just going to go ahead and read exactly what they wrote here. The Bungie Foundation aims to reduce distress and suffering in children through entertainment. On a daily basis, this sees us working with hospitals to put games into the hands of young people whose hearts need a lift. There are moments, however, when we expand our mission to include others who also need a helping hand. Our hearts are with all of those who have lost their homes or loved ones by the ongoing California wildfires. By purchasing the Destiny 2 Bungie Foundation pin between now and 12/31/18, 100% of the profits will be donated to Direct Relief's efforts to support. We have been proud to partner with Direct Relief on a variety of different disaster relief efforts due to their unwavering dedication to the people they serve. Prompt support using customized methods that specifically meet the needs of each situation, and full transparency on the use of all donor funds. Please help us in supporting the amazing work they're doing for the residents and responders in California. Here at the DBG podcast, we could not be bigger supporters of the Bungie Foundation. Their pairing with Direct Relief makes a lot of sense. Those guys are doing awesome work there. I mean, a lot of people are affected by those wildfires. If you're not here in America, then maybe you wouldn't know, but I see them on the news almost every other day. There's always a new fire. People's houses are being burned down. A lot of people are affected. It's a bad situation. The west of America is literally on fire like all the time nowadays. And this is a more serious like subject, and we want you guys, if you can, go over to the link that we've provided in our show notes. The Destiny 2 Bungie Foundation pin is $15, and like they're saying here, 100% of the proceeds are going to charity. And if you do that, you also net yourself a pretty sweet in-game emblem. Yeah, that's what we got to say about that. We definitely will have all the links that you guys need right in our show notes. The last little thing in the TWAB this week, I don't know, are you a big fan of comic books or web comics, lady?
No.
No. Well, some people really are.
Some people are there, and I can see the appeal. It's just not for me.
um, Bungie is releasing Cade 6 Part 1, and that's going to be available on 11/29. It's supported in a bunch of different languages. So go ahead and check that out at comics.bungie.net. It looks pretty cool. I've only seen the cover page, but it looks intriguing enough. It's going to be detailing like Cade's takedown of the Barons on the reef, and probably how a lot of them end up in the prison of elders, I'd imagine.
Yeah, because the lore hints a lot at that, and I remember reading a piece that Aldrin speaking about the robot, or the guy with blue eyes who hands him over to Petra, and he's sure he's seen him before, but he can't think where, and that of course is Cade. So it's going to be really interesting to see. Sort of, I'm actually quite interested in this comic and Cade's story and how that all came together.
Yeah, and it kind of feels like almost like a Dirty Dozen in a way, because it's Cade's 6, which is a play on Cade 6, obviously. But there's 6 main characters that are joining with Cade to kind of take down the Barons, and it looks interesting.
Yeah, I think it'll be really good. It's going to give us I love it when they drop these extra like freebie backstories.
Yeah, and you know what? There was another one that was made for Warmind about Anna Bray that I have yet to check out, and I also need to check that one out as well.
They did one for Osiris as well, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah. It all started with the Osiris storyline.
So if you guys go and check that out at comics.bungie.net, know that you won't be alone. I'm also going to go check these out. I know Lady and I absolutely love the lore that's in Destiny, and this is a really fun way to expand upon it. So
yeah,
check it out. Now, that really is it. I mean, there's a Black Friday sale going on through the 4th, where they have a lot of cool little shirts and stuff on sale on the Bungie store. If any of those interest you at all, if you purchase enough, you get a pretty sweet exclusive emblem that's really cool.
So you can tell everybody in game that you spent a shitload of money on the Bungie.net store.
To be fair, some of those shirts look pretty awesome.
There are some pretty awesome shirts in there.
I'm a huge fan of this maroon shirt with all the symbols from the raid on it, from the Last Wish raid. I'd actually wear that, I think.
Well, I pre-ordered from the Bungie store the Grimoire collection that they released. And I had an email the other day saying it's gone to print, so maybe I might get it soon. Because I ordered that months ago.
That's awesome, though. I'm also going to pick that up.
Yeah, I certainly would. I think they've got 2 on there now. I can't remember his name. We should probably look it up and give him a shout out. But the whole book was compiled by a Destiny player, and he did it for himself for fun. And Bungie thought it was so good that they asked him to help them. So,
which is funny because they had all the files that they needed.
He's the one that's figured out how to put it in an order, which is also slightly concerning.
We're going to talk about that in 2 seconds when we jump on topic here. Actually, we might as well just jump on topic here.
Just go on topic.
Yeah, we're jumping on topic today. We're talking about the new player experience. Now, a lot of you guys have started playing the game recently. At least, well, I don't know if the listeners have. Maybe you guys are a little bit more enfranchised, but there are so many new players out there. When Activision decided to give Bungie when Activision decided to give Destiny 2 away for free,
we've got issues if they're giving away Bungie for free.
So many new players have come and joined the Destiny universe from that, and it's really exciting. There is just this tremendous feeling in the Destiny world right now, where so many people are having those special aha moments where they just figure out Destiny, or they just come to love the game. Like, certain things have happened to all of us throughout our time playing Destiny that have just really made it a game that is above all the rest, at least in my estimation. I don't know about you, Lady. I'm sure you've had special experiences that other games just don't provide, which keep you coming back over and over again.
Yeah, I was about to say it's called the thing that just keeps you coming back.
Right.
Yeah.
So many players are experiencing that right now. And I made a post asking people to kind of give me like a quick review of their ups and downs, their pros and cons. And a lot of people had like these amazing pros. Like people love the soundtrack, people love the gameplay, the gunplay. There's so much. But then throughout every post that, because I asked for pros and cons, there were several topics that people hit on where they kind of had like these questions, or they weren't sure of these different things. And that's why we wanted to make this podcast, this episode, to kind of tackle these things that could take people away from the community, because so many awesome people are joining us. We don't want to see anyone go away. So we're going to kind of tackle these new player concerns and talk about the new player experience. The first thing we're going to hit on the head is one of the biggest concerns is the lore in the game.
I love what you've written here. In-game lore is confusing.
In-game lore is confusing and hard to follow. That's like the number one thing that people say. And I expanded on that right here in the show notes by listing off a comment from a user on Reddit named NDA80. And he says, I do not get the background story. I do not get any idea why there are these strikes. There are no quests, nothing. Why I should enter them, besides getting equipment, or which prepare more for this. Not proper English. I seen, for example, Leviathan, but why is there this big ship? What I need to do there? Dreaming City. Why is there this fountain? What should I do in general? I do not get it.
So what I'm going to open with, okay, because I do get this, right? And we're living in a golden age of Bungie delivering story right now, because as you know, and as a lot of other players know, D1 storytelling was the worst. Like, it was so hard to follow the story unless you were actively looking at stuff outside the game. We've hit golden age now, which is slightly worrying that this is still an issue. So many objects now drop in-game lore, and you can go and read it. And obviously this was like a big change that came in with Forsaken. And now we have our Triumph books. But I think that's really helping, because you get to read some of the stories, and like the Gambit stories and stuff is telling you different, like the background of the Drifter and things. But the thing that slightly concerns me about this comment is that I feel that all this stuff is explained in the game pretty well. But maybe that's because I'm a Destiny 1 vet.
Also, you're a lover of the lore, and you kind of know where to look.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. That is very true.
We mentioned the Grimoire a few minutes ago, and the in-game storyline just now, the difference is the Grimoire was kind of housed online, separate from the game, and now they've put it in the game, but it's still like equivalent in many ways. I don't think they've lost or added that much quality in the writing. It's always been the same. Like, the Destiny lore, in many ways, is like, imagine Lord of the Rings, or even the Lord of the Rings universe. You can add in the Silmarillion, you can add in the Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. That's like the Destiny storyline. It's very deep. It's really good. It spans a huge amount of time. But when you read those books, you have page 1 through 1,000, right? It's all in order. It's all right there for you to digest in a normal narrative fashion, the way that the author intended. Mm-hmm. With Destiny, what they've done since game 1, and even now, they've taken every individual page, ripped it out of the book, tied it to in-game scannables, tied it to weapon lore, tied it to ship lore, or in the game 1 to dead ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
And they've hid it around the world for you to go find and explore. So the story is there. It's deep. It's amazing. It's there for you to find, but it's hard. It's split up.
But the way they're delivering the story is right for the backstory of our character, because what we have to remember is that when we started out in D1, we don't know who we are. We don't know what any of this stuff is. And our journey through the game, through the worlds, is us rediscovering ourselves and finding out about all these things. So I think the way that they're delivering it fits perfectly with like our origin story, as it were. It's just really different to how people are used to having stories delivered to them.
Oh yeah, I agree with you because like you just said, like when we wake up in the Cosmodrome, our memory is wiped. We have no idea what's going on.
I mean, hell, we still don't know who we are.
Yeah, you're kind of not meant to. I mean,
No.
the only people who really know what like who they are is like possibly Cade, right? And Anna Bray, because Anna Bray was lucky enough to have a wealth of knowledge still very much accessible in the world because of Clovis Bray, the institution, and the fact that she woke up with her name tag on her.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody gets to do that. Um, you know what's interesting is in game one. This is a side note, but as you enter a room, there's a robot that talks to you and says like, "Hello, Doctor Shim," and your ghost is kind of like, "Don't pay attention to that." You know, that could be a whole thing to talk about later on. But
well, we can't all be Dr. Shim.
right, well, I mean, each individual kind of is in their own way. But you got to kind of think about it, like you said. We wake up, we have amnesia, we don't remember anything, and when you go to talk to Zavala, like, and you kind of get introduced to the Vanguard, you don't really get that much in-game lore. And I mean, you could say, yeah, it's lazy storytelling and whatever, but you got to remember, in this world, the Guardians who come about kind of just also get killed as well. So at that point in the story, maybe there's a reason why they're not really feeling too obligated to tell you too much, because you kind of are just like a gun to use against the darkness, but you're not really like known at all. And as you progress through the storylines, you're brought into more of like to the greater narrative as it is.
And all the different activities give you more story as you go. So the more activities you do, so like the strikes with their audio overlays, that's so not the phrase I'm looking for. What phrase am I looking for, Vigilant?
Their audio overlays?
Yeah.
Their comms? I don't know.
Oh my god, my brain's gone blank. Anyway,
I think audio overlays work.
So when you're going through the strikes and you've got either Zavala talking to you, or Ikora, or Cade, or Asher, or Failsafe.
Exposition?
Expanding, you're just shouting random words at me now. They're adding to that story, and then you go off and you do the side quests, like the adventures on the different planets, and you get more story out of that as well. You kind of have to really build on it yourself, and you have to be listening, I think, to what's being... They deliver a lot of story through words in this game, if you're listening for it. I mean, even standing in the tower next to Shax and next to the NPCs, they say stuff all the time, and you can pick stuff up from there as well that helps like fit jigsaw pieces together. It is a jigsaw puzzle with no picture to go by, though.
It is sometimes, yeah. But there are some great people in the community, especially on YouTube, who have devoted themselves to just figuring out this lore and putting it in a format that is very digestible and very entertaining. And if you're looking for Destiny lore, there are hours upon hours of content videos for you to watch. Now, a couple people that you really want to check out, who are very well known in the community for creating very good quality content for lore. I would say My Name is Bife. Check him out on YouTube. My Ellen Games. And not so recently, but Sir Wallen also has a lot of good content. And it might be older now at this point. I think his last video is maybe 4 months ago. But still quality content from before then.
And then my favorite website ever. I see you have listed here too.
Yeah, and you go ahead and talk about it.
The Ishtar Collective is a website set up by a British guy and a complete team of volunteers, and they have every single piece of lore on there. They have gone through and they've analysed it all, they've grouped it all. So if you want to go and read about Petra, you can just chuck Petra into the search engine and it will bring you up every single piece of lore, whether that's Grimoire from D1, whether it's lore from D2, whether it's things attached to weapons to do with that person. So you can really have a good old binge fest on the Ishtar Collective website. And on top of that, they actually have all the transcripts for all the talking that happens in the game, and people dedicate so much free time to doing this, actually. sitting there rewatching videos, typing out what each character says, so you can go back and read through the transcripts that I was talking about that go with the stories that get told for the strikes and the adventures.
Yeah, check that out. Also, feel free to jump into your lore tab in your triumphs as you unlock more of the game, as you play it, as you find scannables, things, and earn triumphs. Things do get updated there, and there is a lot of story. Check it out. It's a very special part of the game, and I know it's one of the leading reasons why I enjoy the game so much. I think it's also the same for you, lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, check it out.
Can I answer one of his questions specifically, just because he's put on here? For example, Leviathan, but why is there a big ship?
Yeah, go for it.
The big ship. So we'll go back a step. So Emperor Callus was overthrown by Dominus Ghoul, who is the big fat Cabal guy you fight at the end of the vanilla D2 storyline. And he was sent into exile, and that ship is his exile ship. It also happens to be the big weapon that he used to use to eat worlds. What do you need to do on there? You need to actually enter our competition to come and do the raid with us. Do the Leviathan raid, get that Leviathan experience. It's a 6-man team event. It'll be the most fun and the most stressful encounter of your life, I'm sure. But yeah, I can't even remember where we found out about Callus being exiled on that ship. But I'm sure it's in the game somewhere.
Oh, it's definitely in some lore, and also if you do it like invitation from the Emperor, I think that there's some stuff in there too.
So that is why there is a big ship. Callus was overthrown and exiled by Dominus Ghoul, and is literally as confined to the ship that he used to use to consume worlds. I presume they removed that ability from it before they exiled him there, but
there is some cool lore with Callus, wherein he kind of uses like the Leviathan to reach the edges of known space, and he kind of finds the darkness out there, and in many ways he kind of ends up serving the darkness, and I do believe, and his storyline's not done. It's very interesting.
It's so not done. I hope it's not done. I would love to know more about Callus.
He's a raid boss, but
is he though?
We don't know. If you don't know the answer to that question, then I strongly urge you to figure it out and go do that raid. It's a lot of fun. The number 2 thing that came up when we polled people, the endgame power level grind is confusing and not well explained. 102 says, this game is confusing as shit to navigate around. Like in Diablo 3, loot comes from rifts. You want loot? Go to a rift. In Diablo 2, it came from bosses. You want loot? You kill bosses. You want loot in WoW? Go to the highest zone, dungeon, or pug raid and get it. I'm having a hell of a time finding where gear comes from here. I just wind up doing world events over and over and knocking out side quests now that the story is done. Is this right? Is this the end game? Where is everyone? What is a raid? What are any of these bizarre terms? I'm smashing things with my Titan and having a pretty darn good time over here, but I think all this confusing stuff that isn't explained in game is probably going to cause the game to fizzle out for me pretty quickly. I can see why they had to give it out for free.
That last comment is so gutting. I feel this is really well explained in game because everything gives you gear in this game.
Everything does, but the best gear in the game is often not overly explained, and as veteran players, we kind of suffer from the frog in boiling water issue, wherein we've been along for the ride the entire time, so these little, like, every time the degrees of the water, like, increased, we didn't notice it. We just been sitting there. So when you guys are getting tossed into a boiling pot of water, you're jumping out. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you're having a great time with certain things, but it definitely can spook you a little bit.
Thinking about it, I think it's actually better explained Forsaken onwards, where you have those quests where they're like, complete this and a full set of Crucible armor, which tells you, okay, fine, I need to go and play Crucible and get all the Crucible armor and then complete a game wearing it. That's perhaps a better way to explain it than they've had before.
So, I mean, we could tackle some of his questions. You talked about raids a minute ago. Raids are pinnacle activities. They're very hard activities that are meant for 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
They sometimes house the best weapons in the game or some of the best gear. They're very, very challenging if you're finding the game too easy. Beyond that, how do you figure out what to do and where to get gear? There's so much going on in Destiny. If you look at your map at any given time, especially beginning on Tuesdays, which is reset day, you're probably littered with things to go do every week. As long as you're in Forsaken, I don't know about the people who are playing on just the base game, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that if you've gotten this far, the game has either intrigued you enough that you've gotten Forsaken, which may have led you here to the podcast. If you haven't crossed that bridge, then you're probably done with it and probably not listening. So I'm gonna address the people who are probably listening, playing Forsaken. When you open up your map, there's a crap ton of things to do. Now, let's explain this a little bit. During the weekly reset, you're going to see powerful gear rewards crossing a bunch of different content. There's going to be one in Gambit that isn't right on your map. You're going to have to go pick up bounties from the Drifter to do that. There's a weekly Flashpoint, which changes zones every week.
What a Flashpoint is completing specific activities on a specific planet each week. Patrols, even though the Flashpoint tells you to patrol the planet, do not count. But we're talking lost sectors and public events and heroic adventures. And I think what the Flashpoint is designed to do, I think its purpose is to get people to explore that location. It's to get to know it better. It's to spend some time there. The heroic adventures expand your story experience. Public events give you an opportunity to get really frustrated at random members of the community that you don't know. And then lost sectors are just quite fun once you're high enough power level to whiz through them. They're a quick win when it comes to Flashpoints, I think.
You know what? On Mercury, you kind of need to just go for lost sectors, or else you're going to drive yourself crazy.
On Mercury, it's just a train wreck.
Yeah, that zone can be really hard. If you're new and experiencing the Mercury Flashpoint, don't worry.
It's not you.
Even veteran players, yeah, it's not you at all. Even veteran players get annoyed by that. Yeah, Flashpoints reward you for continuous activity completion, like Lady was just saying.
I think what we should add, though, is that the reward here is powerful gear. It's not with a Flashpoint, you'll get a planet-specific piece of armor normally as your powerful gear, or an exotic. Do they not? They don't often do weapons on Flashpoints, do they? It's normally a piece of the armor.
Is that true? I don't think I've ever noticed that to be true. So just look on your map. There's tons of powerful rewards quests that are available every week. Just highlight your destinations. It'll tell you exactly what you need to do to go after them. Now, the powerful rewards aren't equal. And what I mean by that is that there are certain soft caps that you're going to hit in the game. When you hit 500, you're going to find it a lot harder to gain your light levels. There's a reason for that, in that it introduces the need to do higher end activities, right? Like your strikes, your crucible, your raids, all that kind of stuff. This is the continuous grind that you're on that's going to get you to max level. Now, not all of the powerful engrams and powerful engram rewards are made equal. Your daily milestones, like your strikes and your crucible and your gambit and all that stuff that comes up on a rotating daily basis, they're going to cap out around 520, and I'll kind of explain what this means. Your weekly milestones for those same activities kind of fall in the same category. You're going to see some good bumps until you hit 520, and then you're going to kind of play the rule of averages. Now, the way power level kind of works for most activities in the game is when you get a powerful reward, it's going to assign itself randomly. So you're going to get maybe a chest, maybe a primary weapon or kinetic weapon, maybe boots or something along those lines, right? And it's going to look at your average level and it's going to go +1 from that. So what does that mean? It means that if you're unlucky, you could easily not see a power jump at all. You could end up with something that's actually lower than what you have in slot already, which can be kind of annoying. The activities that are going to give you bigger bumps guaranteed every week come from the Dreaming City, They come from the Nightfall and the 100K Nightfall. They come from your Iron Banner events, and they come from the raid. Now, every week, if you dedicate yourself to doing as much of those as possible, then you're going to bump up your average as high as it can go for the week, right? So when you tackle the daily stuff and the weekly stuff and the flashpoints, you're going to be working with a higher average. So you're going to see a greater return for your investment.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully not getting, like a crappier version of something in a slot. That might still happen. You might still get 2 boots in a row that drop at like 540 a piece,
Or 5 edge transits, I mean.
Or, 5 or 140. 5 or 140 edge transits, exactly. But it'll give you the best possible chance at hitting max level the quickest and most efficiently if you're tackling the highest end content in the game first and boosting up your level the most that you possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
That's all there really is to it. There is some math involved, but at a certain point, you kind of just got to be lucky as well. As long as you just week in and week out keep on grinding at it, you'll get it. Also, if you create a second and third character, you can switch your guns over to those characters once you're high enough level to actually wield them. And that'll help you if you want to go hard. That'll help you in the best way possible. Have the absolute most efficient game plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what that does is when you get your guns up high and you put them on a lower character, it creates like a snap point that everything's going to just get, like, all your gains are going to just be incredibly boosted from what they would have been. So I recommend that highly if you want to just go hard.
I think that's the best advice on leveling up.
Honestly, I think that's the best I can do.
It's the only advice on leveling up. Always keep a candle lit in your shrine to the Iron Jesus. Other than that,
make sure you say your daily prayers.
Yeah, it does. It boils down to luck a lot of the time, unfortunately, doesn't it?
Yeah, somewhat. Also, when you're doing that stuff, as a side note, when you're doing your Dreaming City and Raid, there are some special perks and mods that you can get from those activities. In the Raid, you can get some Taken stuff, which is pretty cool for a couple of different activities, especially the Raid. But on your gear, there are perks that can only drop from the Raid or from the Dreaming City, which are enhanced, and you'll actually see them and you'll actually can read them. It'll say enhanced heavy lifting. Mm-hmm. Which gives you more super energy for heavy weapon kills. Pay attention to that. You're kind of going to want gear that has something like that. So make sure you're reading all of your perks and just know that exists. That's a big thing. I didn't realize that for a long time, and I probably have deleted some really good God roll weapons. Another
but that's all relatively new stuff from Forsaken again, isn't it? This random rolls on weapons and armor is relatively new kind of to all of us, really, again, because they took it away and now they've given it back, and it's definitely changing things up, I think.
Now, if you want some good guides or some good resources for this, the YouTubers I would highlight are Dado, Caucus HD, and Aztec Cross Gaming. All three of them have really good content on a regular basis. You're going to find guides, you're going to find reviews of different weapons, you're going to find just good quality Destiny content that will help you answer a lot of these questions that have come up. Also, you can go on r/Destiny the game. There's so much Destiny content on there. If you haven't been on there yet, you're really missing out. Also, r/Godrolls is a very good resource for figuring out if the weapon that you just got is worth deleting or keeping. Mm-hmm. You can post it right on there and people will be very quick to talk to you about it.
But the thing is as well, you also need to play with what suits you. So if you find something that you like, but it's not what other people would call a god roll, then it doesn't mean you shouldn't use it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's specifically for people who want to min-max and they're is this how good is this on a scale from 1 to 10 kind of thing. The next thing that people are concerned about is when it comes to Crucible and Gambit, people are saying that being competitive in those modes is hard. when you're up against well-geared veterans. And this is something that we completely understand. I mean, we've all had clanmates or friends that have played the game that get frustrated when they don't really spend that much time playing the game and they just get hosed. But in many ways, you can kind of take this in your own hands and control the outcome here, because there are high tier weapons that you can just go and work towards. Now, these weapons can all kind of be RNG-less, like with one exception. Sleeper Simulant, when you complete the Warmind DLC, you get the quest for it, and it's going to take a while to grind it out, but it's there. It's something that you can work towards. Ace of Spades comes along with completion of Forsaken, and you get that quest right then. It's an exotic quest in your pursuits. You can go and knock that out. That is a top tier Crucible weapon. And Sleeper, like we just talked about, that's top tier in Gambit. Like everyone uses that gun.
Even post nerf.
Even post nerf. There's been several nerfs to that thing, and it's still running rampant.
Mm-hmm.
But you can control your ability to get these weapons. The Thunderlord, until the 27th, is probably the easiest quest line for any top tier exotic in the game. Go to Amanda Holiday in the tower and get yourself that quest if you don't have it. Until the 27th, it's there.
And it is a badass weapon.
It is awesome.
It is like a Ticklefinger Warlock in a gun.
Even better than Ticklefinger Warlock, because it has like insane range.
And it's not wearing a silly cape. Cloak.
Yeah, it's crazy. Definitely get that gun. It's reinvigorated my love for a gun that isn't Sleeper or Whisper of the Worm.
It has made me remember how much fun heavy machine guns were in D1 and how much I've actually missed them.
Oh, I miss Quillum Sermonus, but that's another story. No, the Ikelos shotgun comes from Escalation Protocol. If you don't know what Escalation Protocol is, it's a 7-phase horde mode, I guess, with a boss at the end of each phase, right? Is that how you explain it?
Yeah, I'd say it was in World Endgame. So it's 7 like mini boss fights back to back on Mars.
Now, there's 3 different weapons that come from that: the Ikelos shotgun, the Ikelos sniper rifle, and then the Ikelos SMG. And every week, depending on what boss there is, because there's a rotating cast of characters there, different weapons might drop. This week specifically, all 3 of them can drop. There are 2 weeks, I think, in the rotation where all 3 of them can drop. Otherwise, you're gonna be trying to figure out which weapon's dropping, and you have different chances. All the weapons are good. The sniper rifle probably is the least good. The SMG is a lot of fun, but the Ikelos shotgun is insane. It's top tier for your energy slot, for as far as PvE goes, at least. People love this weapon. I love this weapon. You just have to grind it out.
I have never been able to get it. All my time playing EP, like, what was that? So coming up sort of like 12 months on Xbox. I haven't had any of the Ikelos weapons, actually. I have been really unlucky.
Oh, no. These weapons take a grind. They
take grind to a whole new level because they add RNG into there as well, and whether or not your boss is going to drop a weapon.
Yeah, this one requires some RNG luck, but it is an activity that you can go do until you get it. I mean, it took me like 20 runs to get it. Luckily, they changed it, so when you hit level 7 and kill the boss, you have the option to restart at level 6.
Which makes such a difference.
Oh, I feel so bad. I was doing this with some clanmates the other day that had never done it before, hoping that they would get a reward. And then I got 2 Ikelos SMGs and the sniper rifle, and I didn't have either before that. So I got 3 rewards in like 8 runs, and then they didn't get anything. So that event can definitely smile on some and crap on others, but go and do it. Eventually you will get the rewards. The next one I would like to talk about is the Bad Omens God Rolled rocket launcher from Gambit.
The one with tracking and cluster bombs.
Yeah, tracking and cluster bombs. It's a mini Gallarhorn from D1, which is one of the best weapons ever created. Yeah. And you can just get this by resetting your Gambit rank twice. They just give it to you, God rolled.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, I had mine drop in game.
If you have it dropped in game, you're very lucky. I didn't get a single rocket launcher in game with these 2 perks until I reset my gamut twice. But it's really good, and you can just get it. For the last weapon I want to talk about, the Queen Breaker, this does come down to RNG a little bit. Well, a good deal. But it's top tier for Gambit. It's a linear fusion rifle that kind of feels like a sniper rifle. You can get this by doing the wanted bounties from Spider, and you might get Lord of the Wolves, you might get the Queen Breaker. It's grindable, though. You have the best chance at getting it from one of those activities. So just, if you're ignoring those, you can kind of get those 2 weapons by doing that.
Alternatively, you can go and play Blind Well, because that's where mine dropped last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I got mine from the gunsmith, honestly.
Mine was a tier 4 Blind Well from the chest. And the funny thing was, I didn't even take part in that boss fight because I'm still underleveled and can't do any damage, so I was just hiding in a corner. And then I went and opened the chest, and it was like, here, have a Queen Breaker.
You know what I got? I got an exotic from that event as well, and I got the Merciless.
Mm-hmm. I think I got the better deal there.
Yeah, certainly. The Merciless is a great weapon, though. It's just it has fallen out of favor because there's like weapons in slot that are just slightly edging it out.
Do you remember when? Sorry, this is like slight tangent but relevant. When we first had Merciless, and you wouldn't do lanterns in the Leviathan raid without it.
Oh yeah,
because that used to just wreck in there. And now there's loads of guns that do the same thing, and there was obviously the Wardcliff thing as well. But I remember you weren't doing that raid unless you got a Merciless.
Oh yeah, for sure.
How things change.
Yeah, it's funny. I still like the gun though. It's a lot of fun.
It is fun.
Now, the next thing that came up were people like really questioning how does damage work in the game. NDA 80 again says, so why is it so hard for me to finish a strike when my power level is 260 times higher than recommended?
I guess he means points higher than.
Oh yeah, because it couldn't be 260 times higher.
Well, I guess this is down to the fact that some activities are power locked, so it doesn't actually matter how high your power level is. So like the raids and stuff are, I don't know how many of the strikes are power locked.
So strikes definitely aren't, they don't really care what your power level is at all for the most part. I included in the show notes a link to a very long Reddit post on overleveling NU, and it's a really good read. Basically, whenever you do events and you're a high power level over whatever event you're doing, you're only going to get so much benefit from that. I think it caps out at like 30 power levels higher than the event you're doing will net you some sort of advantage.
Yeah,
it's not much. Yeah, it's not much. Maybe it's 40.
Which of course is to keep the play balanced, because otherwise you'd have some people going in there at level 600 and one-shotting yellow bars, whilst you've got people going in there nearer the level cap who are having to put a lot more work in.
Yeah.
So it's one of those necessary evils, unfortunately, to keep the play balanced.
The game could easily feel very unbalanced if you broke that, right? Mm-hmm. It's never a given. Everything you do in this game is always going to feel like a challenge. I mean, when your average power level is higher, when your gun is higher leveled, you are going to do some more damage than your lower level counterparts, but it's never going to be game-breakingly crazy, except for maybe in you would see that change in PvP, like in Iron Banner or competitive, where power level is enabled and 3 shots versus 4 shots on a hand cannon to kill someone makes a big difference. But in your PvE environments, it's not going to be that noticeable. But I implore you to check that out. If you have any questions on how damage breaks down with your power level versus the events that you're doing, check out this thing I linked. Now, the 5th thing that came up, and this is really funny, a lot of people actually listed this as a concern, and I get it. But it's that the fact that there's no transmogrification in Destiny. And Anna, you did.
I was going to say, do you want to explain this again? Because I can't be the only person that didn't know what this is.
So a lot of people brought this up, and I think it's because you see a lot of people coming from your World of Warcrafts, from your Diablos, where this is a huge thing. Transmogrification is when you have a certain piece or a certain gear set on that maybe you don't like the look of. But throughout the game, say you've unlocked a bunch of different armor. Well, it takes the look of the armor that you've earned in the game and allows you to apply them to any piece of gear. So you can look cosmetically however you want to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really cool in games where it's better in games where visuals don't matter as much, because in Destiny visuals matter a lot, because like when you're playing in Crucible and you see somebody with a Raiden Flux on, you know that person's going to come with like an arc spear and try to get you. It's an easy visual cue to know what they're wearing. Likewise, any piece of gear, any exotic in the game, you know exactly what someone's going to do when you're embroiled in, or when you're enfranchised enough. You know tactically how they're going to be kind of playing based on what they're wearing. So transmog will never work in game just because of that reason, where if you looked like you're wearing all blues, I don't know, it kind of defeats a lot of the PvP balancing. The game really rewards you for knowing what different gear looks like. So looks are very important in that way to Destiny.
They are, and I think because so many of the it's not the sort of game that you just want one armor set in either. You know, because you've got different pieces of armor that give you different perks. So like you said, you've got Radiant Flux, which you want to use in PvP. You also want to be using that in the boss fight of Spire Stars for your damage phase, and Radiant Flux makes it last longer, so that's what you're going to use. But then at the same time, I've completely blanked on the name. What is the hunter helmet that looks like a hawk that supercharges Golden Gun?
Oh, Celestial Nighthawk.
Celestial Nighthawk, that's the one. The perks on that, I wouldn't want to choose one of those or the other, if that makes sense. I like having lots of different armor pieces to put on to change what my loadout does for me. Whereas if you were just updating one armor set all the time, you'd lose those perks of being able to swap things in and out.
Also in game, they kind of have like an ornament system, which allows you to alter the looks of your gear in certain ways. But still, like the alterations are very noticeable, so that like when you're in Crucible or you're in Gambit, you can look at someone and instantly know what you're going to be facing down, because it is important. It is important that you know if like someone's throwing one shot at you with Golden Gun through Celestial Nighthawk, or three because they're wearing a different piece of gear. You know, that is very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I have for the concerns, really. Like, there are some real legitimate concerns, but I want to end this new player experience segment on...
This is such a beautiful thing. I can't wait for you to read it.
It's such a beautiful response, and I think it echoes exactly what I was talking about, wherein everybody kind of has this aha moment that makes the game really special for them. If you're listening to this, then I hope that you've had that, and that you are finding the love in Destiny that we all have. Class 2 Cherub writes, I could write about how the gameplay is the smoothest I've ever experienced, or how I've already been inspired to create a laundry list of gear I want to grind for. But my favorite part of the experience is how sometimes everything comes together in these organic, unscripted moments that truly make you feel like a badass. No game has ever felt so damn cool to experience. I'll be in some strike, I don't know their names yet, and some giant ogre dude will stomp in and roar, and dozens of thralls or whatever will be swarming in from seemingly every angle. And the sweet guitar riffs combined with the triumphant horns make me feel like some kind of heavy metal knight from the future. A rocket will fly over my left shoulder, causing some crispy explosion, while another guardian flies over my right and erupts in a beautiful flaming burst of light as he rains fiery swords from the sky, and we lay waste to these evil things. It's just rad. It's Kritz Metzen rad. It's Mad Max Doof Warrior rad. It's pure geek badassery, and so original and so well executed. It's the sort of thing that historically feels reserved for moments that are scripted, where you can't really interact with what is happening, and you have to wait for that cool moment to be over to get control of your character back. But it is happening in real time, and all because of moment-to-moment player input. It's beautiful, and some of, if not the best gameplay I've ever enjoyed.
That's why.
That's why I love Destiny.
Next time someone asks me, why do I play Destiny, I'm going to write that. I'm going to just copy and paste that statement. Thanks, Class 2 Cherub. I think you've actually probably done something a lot of us would struggle to do without taking about 2 hours to talk about it, which is why we're doing a podcast. You've condensed into 2 very eloquent paragraphs the Destiny experience.
Absolutely.
It is pure geek badassery.
In the end of the day, there are things that can be made better, made more apparent. But we all, if you're here, you probably love that experience, and it's something special. That soundtrack is epic, and when it plays into like what you're doing, it can be really, really awesome. And thank you, Class 2 Cherub. Like, that was awesome. It gave me goosebumps, and I agree with you 100%.
I think we should take a minute, and I think we should actually just talk about the music, because the music for the whole of the Destiny franchise is epic.
You know, a lot of people actually noted on that too in their reviews, in their pros.
It is full on orchestral magic. The composer, whose name escapes me right now, he's been on this journey since D1. It's still the same. You know, you have those wonderful little riffs that you're like, oh, that's the Destiny theme. And it ties it all together. And it is such a clever, well put together sound script that goes with this game.
You're thinking of Michael Salvatore.
That's the one, thank you. But do you know what I mean? Like, every single piece of music links together. You hear something in every piece that you know is distinctly Destiny, whether it's the horns or one of their like really familiar little Destiny trills going through it. He is such a talented man. And I sit in my car and listen to Destiny music on my way home and to work most days. And you just have all these fantastic memories associated with it. And you hear a piece of music and you're like, oh yeah, that's from this part of the game and this awesome thing happens there.
Yeah, it's so well done that when you have it playing, like when you actually have it on, sometimes I do commit the sin of turning it off, but when you do have it on and you're first experiencing the game and you're somewhere where you don't know yet, you can tell when you're coming up on like a boss fight or something epic, because that score starts to pick up and you can tell what kind of gaming experience you're about to have based on those audio cues.
It really enhances the gameplay. And I mean, like a piece of music we've been talking about a lot recently would be the journey for that horrendous part at the beginning of D2 Vanilla. But what a fantastic bit of music to go with that journey that you're taking out of the city until you find Hawthorne. It's just perfect. Everything, they match the music, and I'm sure the composer writes the music to go with the scenes that have sort of already been storyboarded and stuff, and that's probably why it works as well as it does. But the music just matches the experience that you're having. What keeps you coming back? I'm gonna ask this. You're a veteran Destiny player, and we've been talking tonight about the new player experience. What keeps you as a veteran player coming back? What is that main grab?
Exactly what Class 2 Cherub just explained. Not only is it that, those unscripted amazing moments that keep me coming back, that are just epic and keep my adrenaline like pumping, you know, but it's the connections, and this is probably a good place to end. It's the connections that I've made throughout the game. The new player experience is so incredibly enhanced by reaching out and joining a clan or friends, building relationships. I have so many people in my life now because of this game, because of the relationships you build, because of shared experience, that the fact that you can face down all these incredible challenges that are provided to you by Bungie through the Destiny storyline, and the Destiny experience. It creates this enormous bond that I don't find in other games. If you're listening to this and you're not in a clan yet, or you haven't gone into an LFG, I definitely recommend it. You're only going to enhance your gameplay. I mean, the end game in this sometimes is called the friend game. Bungie wants you to play with other people. Now, there's guided games that you can go in and you can take down a Nightfall, or you can take down a raid with random people if you're willing to spend like an hour looking for something in queue. But nothing is going to beat the experience that you get from a good clan, honestly.
Mm-hmm. And that's something they've really added to Destiny 2, because in D1 you could have a clan, but it didn't really make or break the game, I didn't find. But in D2 they've really pushed that to the forefront. You know, they want people to make those connections.
And that's what keeps me coming back. The friendships, the gameplay, the incredibly epic moments that you find throughout the game, throughout different events, the raids, all of that keeps me coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I would never trade up for anything else. Now,
No.
I think that wraps up our segment, honestly.
I mean, we could talk about this all day.
Yeah, we definitely
Do you want to go for a 3-hour episode? We can just keep going.
I'm going to jump into the Care High Emblem giveaway right now. If you're listening, if you're the first person to get this, and lady, you don't count. So no going on no going on bungie.net/redeem and claiming this. The code is 64LPMA3VH. So go on to bungie.net/redeem and type in 64LPMA3VH and get yourself the Care High Emblem. Now, if you're the first person to do that, let us know. Send us a screenshot of your awesome victorious win here, because we want to see that. We want to know who's gotten this. And that's it for our topic segment. That's it for that giveaway as well. Now, keep in mind that we're also doing the raid along, which will be fun if you're new. You can pick out whatever raid you want, and we'll go do it with you. Just got to jump onto our WordPress, dbgpodcast.wordpress.com, and submit a question over the next 2 weeks, and you'll be entered into that. Now, let's go ahead and jump into our questions for the week.
We have a really short question section this week, Vigilant, because I only have 2. Do we want to just skip it because we've answered a lot of questions already?
No, you're fine. We've answered a lot of questions, but might as well, if we have 2, might as well go for it.
You're going to cut this bit out?
Nope.
So one of the questions, who I don't have a name for, so that's not very helpful, but thank you for asking a question anyway. Did you get Warden's Law?
I have not gotten Warden's Law. It seems interesting, though. Warden's Law, for anyone who doesn't know, is the Nightfall weapon that comes from the Warden of... What is the name of it? The Warden of... None? Strike? The Prison of Elders Strike?
I can't remember.
I always say the Warden of None, but then everyone corrects me and says, and they tell me that that's not the name of it.
So the Prison of Elder Strike that has the massive servitor at the end.
I've stored this in my mind the wrong way, and I can't get it out.
I could Google it quickly, but I don't think it's that important.
Warden of Nothing?
Warden of Nothing, that is the one. Yeah, because the prisoners escaped.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know much about this weapon, to be honest.
It's a hand cannon.
It's a hand cannon. I don't have it. But my RNG generally sucks, so that doesn't really surprise me. So in answer to your question, no, neither of us have got it yet.
Haven't gotten it. I've gotten recently the Braytech rocket launcher, which was pretty cool.
That is
yeah, that's a harder one to get. I got it from the first I got it from my the one Nightfall I did in that week, and I was pretty lucky.
The one that you carried me through.
Were you there for that?
Yep.
Oh, that's funny.
I was standing in the corner trying not to die.
I also got Mindbender's Ambition, which is the shotgun that comes from Strange Terrain, or not Strange Terrain. That comes from Hollowed Lair, and that shotgun is really, really good. It's towards the top tier of PvP shotguns. I guess that's also something to point out for the newer players is all of the Nightfalls in the game have some special loot attached to them, and the more you do them, the more likely you are to get them. You have a stacking chance. So Google that, figure out what they are. I'll let you know that Strange Terrain and Hollowed Lair probably have the 2 most sought after ones. Maybe after that would be the Tree of Probabilities Nightfall, which gives you the DFA hand cannon. Check those out. They're pretty easy grinds if you just want to get good weapons.
Join a clan and then you can run it with them.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best advice.
And then our second question this week is actually a really interesting one. We're not going to get political on it, but we're just going to answer the question, which is, how do you think Article 13 will affect the Destiny community? So I think to start with, we need to clarify what Article 13 is, which is a piece of legislation within the European Union that has recently been voted to be considered. So it's not in place yet, but it has been voted to be considered putting in place, specifically relating to copyright and the use of other people's material without their permission. So, Vigilant, do you want to... I'm not sure how we tackle this one. Obviously, the Destiny community makes a huge amount of content.
I mean, we've listed 7 YouTubers so far in this episode alone. There are so many more. There's a lot of YouTubers creating content for Destiny, and YouTube is probably one of the bigger concerns with this article, because the way it's going to work is it would create so much work on YouTube's part to police all of the content coming out in the EU and the UK.
We're still in the EU, okay? We're still there.
With the current right, so with the current wording on this article, people are feeling like YouTube would just go ahead and make a lot of content producers unable to be viewed, right? They're just going to shut down their platforms in those countries. And I think that would definitely impact the Destiny community. The community, there's just so much knowledge and so many great content creators out there producing quality informational YouTube videos, that losing that from the community is detrimental, I believe.
But I mean, one of the things we were doing a bit of a cram session on this before we recorded tonight, and one of the things that was flagged up is that YouTube would have to ask Bungie whether or not they wanted those videos taken down. And the thing about Bungie is Bungie loves its community. It loves those community creators that are sharing the love for the game, that are sharing the stories and the experiences. I can't see Bungie saying, yeah, please take it down. I think there might be some teething issues, but maybe we will reach a stage where YouTube realise that asking each artist individually every time a new video that features their content is placed online, whether they'll be able to just say, like Bungie will be able to say, look, hey, we're cool with this. You can just scrub us from the list of things that you're concerned about.
Yeah, it's interesting. You bring up a good point in that, and I wonder how that would play out.
You know, because like we talked earlier about the Grimoire anthology, that was prepared by someone within the community, and Bungie loved it. Bungie loved their content creators and their whole community. They're very open to us sharing our experiences. That's what makes the game so great.
We can definitely hope that it won't affect the European market. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a case of wait and see.
You guys are going to lose your memes, though, huh?
We might lose our memes. We can still import memes from America. It's fine. Yeah, I think that the purpose of it is to stop people taking content and pictures and other things that don't belong to them, reusing them without crediting the original artist. And that isn't a bad thing. But it's going to be interesting seeing how they enforce it and what it actually looks like.
Yeah, it all depends on to what degree they're going to go to, you know.
Uh-huh.
So does that do it for our question segment for the week? Not very many.
Not many this week. People weren't very questioning. I think everybody's just been too busy eating turkey.
Yeah, that's fair. Ask us more questions. That's the way you're going to enter this raid along.
We love questions, and I post on Instagram and on Facebook. I'm going to probably add Twitter to that as well. If you follow me, actually, I'm going to plug myself here because I'm the one that asks for the questions. If you follow at TheLadyGuardian on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you will see my weekly cries for questions. Please give me some questions.
Or feel free to email us at dbgpodcast@outlook.com and just, make your title a question. I'll also count that towards the raid along competition, honestly. Moving on to gaming news. We don't have any gaming news really because Proxy's not here and he compiles all that. That's what he's responsible for. So what we do have this week, and it's the only thing that we're going to talk about, is the Monster Hunter movie released a screenshot, and oh my god! So the picture they released looks legit. All of the armor is pretty cool looking. It's definitely pulled straight from the game. That is unquestionable. But the movie premise sounds so bad. We'll have to wait and see how that actually is. Have you heard about what it's about, lady?
Well, no, like I said to you earlier, I didn't realise that that picture was legitimately from the Monster Hunter movie. I thought someone was just making a really bad joke. So, why don't you share with us the premise for the new Monster Hunter movie?
So the movie starring Mila Jovovich and Tony Jaa. Now Tony Jaa is awesome. Mila Jovovich, I also am a fan of, but I realize that not everybody is. It's directed by the guy who did Resident Evil. The plot is going to be focused around Mila Jovovich's character, who is a special forces commando, I guess. Who gets like brought through a portal into the Monster Hunter universe and has to help them like defeat monsters. That's the basic gist. And I don't know why you need her to be a special forces like commando, but apparently that's the way they're going.
Okay.
I don't know. It sounds like it's going to be bad, but I guess we'll have to wait to see more. Huh?
Does she ever make it home?
Maybe she's trying to get home. I'm guessing that's probably going to be her goal.
Like, if you kill all these monsters, we'll open the portal up again and let you go back.
I guarantee you there's like a scene where she has like a cell phone in the movie and like a bunch of kids are like crowding around her and she's like she shows them something on the cell phone and they're like, ooh.
Are there cats in the film?
There's got to be, right? There's got to be. I can't answer that, but there's got to be some calico.
I don't want to watch it if I don't have my calico. If they're not in there.
I mean, there certainly isn't a calico in that picture, though, so that might be concerning.
There is not. There is. Where is his acorn shovel?
Also, he has like 2 different weapons on him.
Also, his pecs are not as impressive as the lead guy in the actual game. Just like to say that.
The sword is also way smaller too. But I mean, I guess it would be like incredibly unwieldy otherwise, right? Like if you made a Final Fantasy VII movie, you're not giving Cloud that huge giant Buster Sword. You're probably gonna, make that a little smaller.
We want bigger weapons and bigger pecs, please.
It's all about size for us.
Oh yeah.
That wraps up.
It does wrap up.
That wraps up our gaming news segment. It's not very big this week, but we can blame that on Proxy. It's all about size, and he's not providing.
Oh my gosh.
So that wraps up the episode. Thank you guys for listening. Again, we have a read along on the line here. For anyone who wants to ask us questions, you can send it to our email, dbgpodcast@outlook.com. You can go on our WordPress and submit it that way, dbgpodcast.wordpress.com. We have a nice little question segment that you can just, or like area that you can just input them and it'll just email to us right away. You can find us at DBG Podcast on Twitter and Facebook. We'd love to hear from you guys. Go ahead and comment anywhere that we've made a post and talk to us. We'd love to include you guys in the conversation. I've been Vigilant and Lady Guardian. Go ahead and sign off for yourself.
You've kind of already done it for me. I am the Lady Guardian, and we'll see you next week.
We'll see you guys next week.